Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Khalid. But today is Monday, the 22nd of July 2024, and these are the stories that we will be highlighting in the course of the show. We'll begin with our first segment. In fact, is two things combined into one. The first is, of course, the attack on the Pakistani Consulate in Frankfurt in Germany. And of course, this was carried out by Afghan nationals, and there has been a reaction from our Foreign Office as well as by our Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister. There has also been a reaction from the German sides, who have said that they will do the needful. At the same time, the DGISPR also had a very important media briefing today, in which he highlighted different important aspects regarding the current political or security situation in Pakistan, and how to properly move forward under the National Action Program. We'll be highlighting both these aspects in our first segment, and there are so many commonalities between the two. So of course, we thought to merge the two. Our second segment concerns the Palestine War, day 290. At least 39 Palestinians have been killed. Dozens have been injured following the launch of a new assault on eastern Khan Yunus. The number of casualties, those who have been killed, those who have been injured, continues to increase. As we have always been highlighting, the number is not decreasing, despite the fact that there are some talks and some inkling as far as a ceasefire could happen, might happen, but the barbarities continue on the sidelines. This said, the Israeli Prime Minister is going to travel to the United States also, and will be addressing a joint Congress session. He says Israel will dispatch negotiators to start the captive exchange talks on Thursday as well, but did not specify where this is going to happen. This and more will be discussed in our second segment. Our third story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the government's initiative to establish world-class mountaineering school in Gilgitbaltistan. It's going to happen in Skardu. This is a very important step in the right direction, I feel, because there is a lot of interest as far as mountaineering is concerned. A lot of young people also want to climb the peaks. There are so many important peaks within the Pakistani territories, and so giving the right education on how to do the needful was more or less an important step in the right direction, and the government needs to be lauded as far as that is concerned. Finally, World Brain Day is being observed today. The theme this year is brain health and prevention. Brain health is very important, whether it be from a physical aspect or a psychological aspect, and both aspects have to be taken into point, because brain health is also linked to health of all the other important organs, whether it be the heart, the lungs, or the liver and the spleen, etc. So we'll be highlighting that as our last story. Let's begin with our first segment, which concerns the attack on the Pakistani Consulate in Frankfurt, how the Foreign Office reacted, and of course the DGISPR's press brief today that also highlighted many important issues concerning the security paradigm of Pakistan. We've been joined by three guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. In the studios, we've been joined by two guests. On my very right is AVM retired Ijaz Malik sahab. You're a senior analyst, sir. Thank you very much to have joined us. Our regular Dr. Amna Mahmood, Foreign Affairs expert, joins us as well in the studios, and online we've been joined by Brigadier retired Waqar Hassan Khan. He is a defense analyst, but of course we'll be talking to him a bit later in the show. Let's begin with you, AVM sahab. Afghan nationals attack the Pakistani Consulate in Frankfurt, pelt it with stones, desecrate the Pakistani flag. Also, there are media reports that they tried to burn it but were prevented it from burning the flag. There are various videos that are all there on the social media platforms which show the protesters storming the consulate after a protest outside the consulate. Why are such incidents happening outside of Pakistan? What is the methodology? What is the intention?
First of all, outrightly we must condemn forcefully this very grave act. It's a violation as far as the Vienna Convention of 1963 is concerned. Regardless who were the miscreants who attempted this, the host government is supposed to look after the safety and
under
security.
This Vienna Convention.
Yes, out of 79 articles of this convention, most of the articles they are focused on the security, impunity and free functioning, ensuring that the consul general or the high commission or embassy in the host country, they function freely. So obviously such incidences, they compromise the freedom to operate. So as the government and foreign office is doing, we need to actually investigate that who these people were and what motivated them to do this, because this is
because you know there's a difference between a silent protest or a peaceful protest outside the confines of the consulate or any embassy. That I think everybody has the right, but to storm inside an official building and to desecrate the flag, I think this goes beyond certain limits.
No, there is a way all countries, I mean, because globally the security environments demand extensive measures for protection of diplomats particularly and foreign missions. So how could a mob get together and move to premises? Silent protest, or and then what were the reasons? I mean, the situation is so foggy that it is, I think, little premature to even comment that who the people are, although they apparently they seem Afghan.
Because it was the Afghan flag that they were trying to put in the place of the Pakistani flag.
So that shows, but we need to either wait or collaborate with the
as to ascertain
and then take concrete measures so that such things do not happen elsewhere. I mean, if it can happen in a country like Germany, what would be the level of security in the smaller countries which do not have that kind of wherewithal to provide such foolproof security?
That, of course, I agree with you on that. I think the necessary investigation needs to be made by the relevant intelligence agency as well to ascertain who is exactly behind it. Dr. Amna, about 10 days before this episode, predominantly Afghan protesters, also reportedly linked to another movement, staged a protest outside the Pakistani High Commission in London's Belgravia area. Two incidents that involve Afghan nationals happened within 10 days. What is the methodology, what is the reasoning behind it in your point of view? Somebody who understands foreign affairs. I know there's a lot of happening with Afghanistan in the security paradigm, the terrorist paradigm. Is this an extension of that? Is this because the Afghans or whosoever is behind it wants to show who has the might as far as the international arena is concerned, or wants to malign Pakistan's image? What is the basic thing behind it?
Thank you, Omar. I think that the situation is very complex. It is not that much simple that somebody, a group of hooligans, they just enchanted and then they were out of control and they tried to burn the flag. And before that, 10 days, they also they were doing the same in London. I think the situation is that Pakistan and Afghanistan relations are complex right now, and they are almost at the lowest ebb ever. But despite having said, I would say that Pakistan and Afghanistan, both governments, they are not disengaged from each other, and their diplomacy is going on.
Of course.
Their diplomacy connection and our relationship is to the level that we cannot disengage, and especially as far as Afghan transit trade and their dependence on Pakistan for food and everything that is established. So I think that at the government level, problem is not that much intensified as it is reflected in these two incidents. It means that it is not an official effort, it is effort by some of the groups, or they
may have the backing of certain other elements.
Yeah, and they are sponsored by some of the elements which they want to bring Pakistan-Afghanistan relations to the worst, that they go to kinetic warfare. I think that is actually an effort to malign bilateral relationship and discontinue Pakistan's diplomatic relations with each other, Pakistan and Afghanistan. As AVM Sab just pointed out, that it is the duty of the host countries, and obviously they would take certain measures as well, and they have already taken some, as they assured Pakistan government. But when some non-state actors, they intervene in a way, then it is not expected. And before that, it was not expected from any of the Afghans that they can do something like that with Pakistani embassy, because they were very close, and Pakistan has been the most strong proponent of Taliban regime and their rights all over the world. And it is the Pakistan who have been doing an effort to recognize Taliban as the legitimate government of Afghanistan. In that scenario, I think, and we conducted we hosted 2 meetings of OIC here in Islamabad in that connection, and number of other actions. So I think that they might not be expecting the level of violence as Afghan people showed, and they did not try to hide it. They showed their flag that they are Afghans. So the things are getting worse, and we have to find and investigate the people behind that sponsorship.
Of course, and we have to investigate thoroughly, and not just us, but of course those who are also in other countries, the host countries, because the onus of responsibility.
And Afghan government as well.
Brigadier Waqar, thank you very much to have joined us. Brigadier Waqar, the Foreign Office also issues a strong statement as far as what happened in Germany is concerned. Our Foreign Minister, our Deputy Prime Minister also states that on a social media platform and says that Pakistan has lodged a strong protest with the German government in this regard. What do international laws state, Brigadier Saab, when it comes to such protests? What are the red lines? A. B. Has the situation drawn significant attention amongst the international communities and has raised concerns about diplomatic security of installations, or is it just a routine day for these host countries where these incidents happen? And I'm referring to Germany, and 10 days before as well what happened in the United Kingdom. Brigadier Sahib, will call you again and I'll revert back to that question with you. But coming to you now, because I'll leave that question as far as Brigadier Waqar is concerned. The DGISPR, Lieutenant General Ahmad Sharif, today says there's a massive illegal political mafia in the country that is trying to sabotage the state's Azm-e-Istehkam operation to fulfill its vested interest. Why this intended sabotage? Why are certain elements trying to, what are they trying to achieve by sabotaging a vision or an operation such as Azm-e-Istehkam? It is a continuity of the previous operation as well, and under the current circumstances when we see, because we've been talking of Afghanistan and the terrorist elements that are associated with that, to get rid of those, this is a combination of different strategies that the Azm-e-Istehkam vision or operation is all meant to do in order to rid our country of such elements. But why then have certain elements sabotage this from within the country or maybe with vested interests abroad?
Before I answer specifically the question you have asked, why was the need to have such an elaborate press conference on an issue which has been earlier explained in mid of June by the same Director General, and then subsequently the PM office had to issue a kind of further detailed account of that. The reason is that initially the news were broken on media that there is going to be a massive operation, and there was a backlash from certain quarters, some obviously political motivated people and some people who have ethnic or maybe somewhat ideological linkages with some people who are the key players in this area. So then the government had to give the explanation that it's not an operation per se, but it is the continuity of the national action plan, and this is a vision. So
as per the 14 points that were agreed to upon in 2021 as well. 21,
once the national action plan was reviewed and revised. So today again the crux of the matter was that this is a continuity and trying to re-energize the national action plan, and the emphasis was that as far as the kinetic part of national action plan deliverables was concerned, We have already done that. We have rooted out the groups. There are no-go areas anywhere. The erstwhile FATA districts have been merged into settled area. So what's now? And operations are being conducted, the IBOs are being conducted
and a certain number of IBOs have been conducted so far this year, yes, as stated by the DGISPR.
Yeah, I mean he was very categorical, and he said that we are conducting almost 4 to 5 operations per hour if we just divide the number of days and the operations which are in thousands. So the problem is that we need to create synergy of narratives. It has to be whole of the nation approach. Unfortunately, there are some people who wants to do politics on that, or who wants to please certain quarters, but this is a matter of Pakistan sovereignty.
Exactly, and that is above everything else.
That is above everything. So I think obviously the intent is noble and this explanation given is wonderful, but I think we need to develop a consensus within the parliament, and all parties, like we did post Peshawar APS incidents, they should unanimously agree to support what is desired out of this vision or campaign. Today there was a new word which was introduced, that it's a campaign. Campaign per se is what? It is the continuity, a series of operation, but if you go by the book definition. So it again it adds to, I think, certain ambiguities rather than clarifying. I will be very honest on that. So I think we should take everybody on board and just request them that, for God's sake, for Pakistan's sake, and for your generation,
have a unified narrative as to how to fight against all such elements that are trying to create havoc in the country. I mean, it's a very simple narrative, and you just have to hold on to it and have a unified approach and resolve in order to get rid of these elements.
Our own peace and future of our generation is hinged on these things.
Agreed.
So we must see it through that prism and not through a myopic vision of our electioning campaigns or our power politics.
All right. Before I come to Dr. Sahiba, I'll have to go back to Brigadier Waqar. Brigadier Waqar, I hope you can hear me fair and square, and I hope we can also hear you fair and square. I was just asking you about the 2 incidents that happened. The first over the weekend in Frankfurt, in Germany, on the Pakistan Consulate, and then 10 days before in the United Kingdom as well. Well, I was trying to understand, has the situation drawn sufficient or significant attention amongst the international community, and has raised certain concerns about how to deal with diplomatic security of the installations, because this is what the Foreign Office has said, as well as our Deputy Prime Minister. And I'd like to just attach this with one phrase, 2 words that the DGISPR used, and he talked about illegal spectrums. Do you feel what happens when it comes to such incidents in the UK or Germany is also part of an illegal spectrum?
Remark that the best place for the Afghan to protest should be the German Foreign Office, frankly, and British Foreign Office, because there are no Afghan embassies working there. Taliban have not been able to place their ambassador in India or anywhere. I think it's Pakistan, China, or maybe some of the Middle Eastern countries. So best place is to first, establish some relationship with the Afghan government. I think, having said that, the illegal spectrum, was basically defined related to the calm and security of Pakistan. I think there are 3 or 4 dimensions. One is, of course, the basically, I also call it Pakistan-Afghanistan mafia corridor. Other than CPAC, we have another corridor, and mainly it is smuggling, it's narcotics, it's weapons, and then terrorism, and then of course something attached to presence of illegal Afghans who are being repatriated, because then that creates a space where this illegal spectrum can operate. And there are people, there are organizations with vested interest. Now, if we look at Barnu, I think as a case study, so you find basically these all dots connecting. You have a terrorist attack on the cantonment, a wall is demolished, and our soldiers fight it out violently, especially Sipai Subhan, as it was mentioned. And next day they are repairing it, put a screen, and then there's a peaceful protest, and then these are deflected. None of the bullet was fired from within the garrison, and the garrison was ransacked, like they entered and attacked the supply depot where they basically started looting, and young boys were put forward. What was the aim? I think aim was one, to let it happen, let the bloodshed with like the attempt on 9th May. And then it starts resonating through digital terrorism, as the DGISPR said, that then they start supporting the terrorists. And the aim is to scuttle Azm-e-Istehkam and mainly what the state wants to do. So I think illegal spectrum and the vested interest is very dangerous. And as I think was being mentioned by the AVM, that it has to be now tackled as per the old National Action Plan and even national security, internal security policy given by the PTI government. And if you look at those paragraphs which were shown, it was from that chapter of national internal security policy. So there is a bipartisan agreement that we have to deal with terrorism. The kinetic part being done by military and law enforcement agencies and intelligence, and non-kinetic part, which is almost 90%, to be done by the government. It is capacity building, it is ownership. Now, how can, like today, the governor of KP was mentioning that his own, let's say, Halka or of the chief minister or Malana Fazal or IG is the most unsafe in KP. So it means that there has to be an ownership by the provincial government. And that was also, I think, emphasized by the, Interior Minister and the Minister of Information. So all told, I think we have to look at it comprehensively, and the element of chaos that was created, and it can be repeated. And I would say it has international linkages. If you look at, we have discussed, I think, day before yesterday or some days back regarding funding coming to Afghan Taliban by India, which is $10 million a month. And now there are reports published by SIGAR, the Special Inspector General related to Afghanistan. $17 billion were pumped in by the US to the Taliban. Add $7 billion of weapon and equipment.
That is of course true. Coming to you, Dr. Amna. Dr. Amna, Brigadier Waqar Sahab alluded to digital terrorism. How do you feel is this form of the term called digital terrorism destroying the fabric of our society, and are real and digital terrorism linked, specifically when we look at the recent incidents that have happened in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and in Balochistan?
Omar, that is a serious matter. It is not a new matter, and you have seen that there have been networking. India accepted that they have conducted all these operations, and Brigadier Saab mentioned number of operations by Taliban, their sponsored groups and Indian backing and their funding, because the only way to intervene in our western provinces by India is through Afghanistan, and using those non-state actors, which may be employed by the current government as well, but we don't have those proofs. I think that these are the realities. We cannot avoid them. Digital platforms are there. They are used for all these purposes. You cannot ban them forever. You cannot avoid them forever. And if you will block them, then there would be a number of other ways to open and use them. So the better way is to create national consensus, as AVM Saab, as Brigadier Waqar pointed out. We should continue to work on national action program. And by the way, very rightly mentioned by Brigadier Waqar, that that is accepted by all parties, including all those parties which are confronting right now. This is the interest of Pakistan. This is the matter of survival and stability of the country, and politics is not above national interest. So we should make a consensus, and we should continue on national action program, and that should be, there should be a debate, not only in parliament but all over Pakistan, in universities, in think tanks, in all these programs, and we should include all the stakeholders. Stakeholders are the people of Pakistan, not only the military, not only parliament, not only the politicians, not only the political parties. All the citizens of Pakistan are the stakeholder, traders, lawyers, and what not. I think that we have to work on that level, because it is not, there is no solution to block any digital platform and be scared of that. We are not scared. We are a nation. We are we have been confronting all these challenges all the time. So it's not new. For the last 50 years, we are fighting.
Agreed.
that.
Agreed.
So I think that is the time that we should sit together.
Okay, last question from you, Brigadier Waqar, and that concerns the audio leak of TTP Chief Mufti Noor Wali Mahsood, and of course, which talks about blowing up schools, colleges, hospitals and homes. The DGISPR says such narratives and actions will be taken to their logical end, and by strengthening our resolve that Azm-e-Istehkam was necessary for the country's stability and security. What needs to be done in your point of view to thwart such attempts? I'd like a short answer, sir. We're a bit short of time.
I think it's very clear. One good thing is that intelligence is able to pick up their conversation. The other is the proof that the day I think he passed, we had an attack on women and children in DI Khan, and they were massacred very ruthlessly. And also, Wali Masood was trying to hide his identity. So look at their narrative. They would not like to be identified, but they would like to conduct terrorism against targets in Pakistan and economy. This is very, very unfortunate. But main, I think, message is to the Taliban government. They have now these proofs are very much open, in the open. They have to control these entities. Everything is there, and then Pakistan has the right to actually strike back when DGISPR says if we can monitor the communication, we can definitely strike if there is any need. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Brigadier Waqar, Hassan Khan Saab, Defence Analyst, who have joined us, and will continue to have your very important opinion as far as matters pertaining to security of Pakistan and, of course, vis-a-vis Afghanistan is concerned. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. Let's begin with our second segment, and that concerns the Palestine War, day 290. Many important events continue to happen, but the main is, of course, death and destruction. And this is what predominates this war since it began on the 7th of October 2023, and today is day 290 of that. We continue to be joined by our two eminent guests, AVM Ijaz Malik and Dr. Amna Mahmood. I'll begin with you, AVM Saab. The number of casualties keep on increasing. Just a few hours back, we heard 39 Palestinians had been killed, dozens other injured following the launch of a new assault on eastern Khan Yunis. 39,006 people still a few hours back have been butchered by the Israelis. 89,818 have been injured in this war. And there is a dramatic surge also in the Israeli attacks on UN-run centers, sheltering people, whether it be schools, whether it be other such offices. What are you foreseeing? Till when is this going to continue? What is going to be the ending or the tipping point to end this conflict?
While it is, I think, clearly mentioned in the beginning of this, operations by Mr. Netanyahu, that they want not only to eliminate the current threats, but they want to eliminate any future potential threats as well. So what are the threats? These are the people. They do not have much resources. They do not have, in fact, any support from neighboring Arab countries even, what to talk about rest of the world. So what they are trying every day, they try to starve, kill, incapacitate the mothers, children, and innocent civilian, because they want to. This is actually a targeted operation. I mean, this is a real textbook genocide methodology that they are taking advantage of every day available to them while they are bombing allegedly the hideouts. But why almost every day there is an airstrike on the schools and hospitals and the camps and shelters where there are no militants. And even they
but they always say that they were trying to target one militant or the other, whether it be in the camps, whether it be in the hospitals, whether it be in the schools.
If they really want to maintain of their stance that they do not want to harm innocent civilians, how much effort or resources do they need to comb an area a hospital or a school and find out if there is one
I
person.
feel these are just excuses to kill as many people as possible, to rid as much of the land of those people who already own that land, who are part of that land, so as to put new Israeli settlements in place. This is my take. Dr. Amna, Pakistan welcomes the advisory opinion by the ICJ on the legal consequences arising from the policies and practices of Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem. A Foreign Office statement that was recently released a few hours back says that the ICJ ruling clearly establishes that Israel's unlawful policies and practices in the occupied Palestinian territory are in breach of Israel's obligation to respect the right of Palestinian people to self-determination. How important is this ICJ opinion? What will be the ramifications of this opinion on the current conflict or on the backers of Israel? And how important has, in your point of view, Pakistan's role been also to support Palestine?
I think Pakistan has played its role, and Pakistan appreciated, Pakistan acknowledged, Pakistan accepted that decision. And that is the maximum role we can do. Because, you know, this is a very strong ruling given by international court. But the way it is implemented, as you know, the previous judgment came, and that was on the same in January, and that was also a very strong verdict. But the thing is that under the international law, the world is an anarchy, and the UN stands as a government to enforce international law. But you have seen that UN Security Council ultimately passed a resolution of ceasefire, and all these rulings and all these decisions of International Court of Justice would go to UN Security Council to make it arrangement for implementation. And there is no UN Security Council working because that is not accepted by the United States. But we are, you know, I was thinking that one time Mr. Roosevelt, the President of United States in Second World War, instituted this idea that there should be a UN Security Council to institute war and to block the war and possibility of war, and when war happens, the UN Security Council would be there to reduce the damages of war. And now the UN Security Council is not playing that role, and there is a question in international relations, and students are working on thesis that what is the justification of UN Security Council, what is the justification of P5, what is their role. So I don't think that this resolution is having any ramification if UN Security Council is not taking notice of that. Secondly, you very well pointed out that actually Israel, with the backing of United States, it's taking time to establish all the settlements in Gaza. They, you know, you have seen that there was a pyre for support or humanitarian support was prepared by United States within days. Now it is dismantled because they said that the purpose is filled. The purpose is not filled. Genocide is going on. People have shifted more than 6 times from their places, and they are hunted like deers by the Israeli forces. And they are saying that one Hamas leader is there, so they are killing 100 people. In not only in mosque, but also in anywhere, any humanitarian place.
So they are taking, I mean, they take this excuse to kill wherever they want and howsoever they want.
And this is against international law. You know that if there one target is there and lot of civilians are there, civilians would be respected, but nobody is respecting them. And US is supporting the move by Egypt and Qatar to stop war, but that is just symbolic. US is actually pretending that Hamas is not going for a ceasefire.
When Hamas has always agreed since day one.
Yeah, but they want to have assurance that ceasefire would be permanent. What if that they would release all the hostages and then Israel would stop that war? Israel is not going to stop that war. They are not going to assure.
Because they have even said that they will continue, even if there is the ceasefire, they want to continue their operation.
And today, you know, I was just looking at the news that 20 years old woman died, and after her death her child was delivered outside the hospital. You know, such a misery, and we implicated on all Palestinian population, and we are just watching 40,000 on record. Rebel people are under the rebel. Now there is no rebel. People are fighting, and they are dying on the roads. They are being targeted. So I think that this genocide would continue till the death of last Palestinian, and the world is going to watch, and we cannot do anything. We are so helpless. We are living in, you know, a state of nature where might is right and might is with Israel, and all these liberal democracies they have exposed. They are supporting genocide.
This is what you were
saying. They have been exposed.
AVM Saab, I understand from Dr. Amna that the ICJ's ruling might not have any serious ramification whatsoever, but it is, well, in theory, an important ruling that has come out. The ICC has also taken out an important ruling some time back, and that is also what quote unquote perturbs the Israeli Prime Minister when he wants to go to the US because he wanted to have a stopover in the European Union, and he doesn't want to because he doesn't want to get arrested. Do you feel the ICC maybe could have some kind of a role in implementation of at least some form of ruling against the genocide, the ethnic cleansing that is happening, or will it be otherwise? The Israeli Prime Minister is also going to address the joint session of the US Congress in a few days' time. What will be not the ramifications, but the outcome of it in your point of view? Will it also openly or solidify the fact that the US is standing firmly behind Israel, come what may?
Part A of the question has a very obvious answer. I don't have any optimism about any outcome from this arrangement. Secondly, the Prime Minister Netanyahu going and addressing, it will be a continuity of the diplomatic offensive that they have already launched to muster support from US and even certain European Union countries. So if he is going and addressing solely on this particular security concern of the world, then what is the representation of the other party? The Palestinian embassy, authorities representative, or anybody who they think appropriate should also be given a chance to address the American Congress and give their point of view or draw attention to some sane voices which I think do exist, but they do not matter in policy making and the foreign policy options of United States. And currently with the fiasco going on in their own election, internal politics, I think we should not expect much from USA, and it will continue till the time that,
because and also if you look at the foreign policy paradigms of both the Democrats and Republicans, it's extremely similar in tone and context when it comes to Israel. Both follow the same point of view, and both will support firmly Israel come what may.
Exactly.
I think this is so irrespective of whichever government comes in the November elections, I think the support for Israel will continue unabated in the same way as it has been. Dr. Amna, Hezbollah claims to have targeted Israeli military site recently also and in the past as well. It says that these attacks on northern Israel will cease once Israel ends its war on Gaza. The Houthis say exactly the same as far as what they are doing in the Red Sea is concerned. But that does not have any effect on Israel whatsoever, and it continues. In fact, CENTCOM and Israel retaliate to these attacks by Hezbollah and Houthis. Do you feel that the war has already escalated beyond Palestine, and if so, what could be the repercussions?
Yes, war has been war is escalated, and there is no doubt about it. And now Israel has directly targeted Houthis and directly targeted Hezbollah, though they are non-state actors, and Yemen did not officially declare war.
True.
Similarly, Lebanon has not But I think the extent Israeli retaliation is visible right now. There would be retaliation by their governments as well, because when their citizens would be targeted, when their casualties, their hospitals, their schools would be targeted, then there would be retaliation. And as Hezbollah and Houthis are proxies of Iran, so Iran has passed through the elections, and I think their next government would be taking what measures they are going to take. And similarly, Israel is also watching that whether Iran is going nuclear or not, and what would be their actions. So war is going to escalate, and the whole countries, whole Arab world that is in between Israel and Iran, that cannot sit in isolation. They have to think that what their stance would be. Right now they are standing morally with Palestine, but they are thinking in terms of their own security, and their own security would be on stake if there would be direct war between Israel and Iran. So the war is
escalating,
there is all probability of third world war. And moreover, you see the from Aden, from this Red Sea, the traffic going on, and that would be fired by European ships, are fired by Houthis, then war can be escalated to Europe as well.
There could be a single incident that could tip something that could, escalate this current situation to a much broader war, or
And Israel has not capacity to deal with all of them. So its allies would intervene, CENTCOM would intervene, European Union would intervene. So probability of escalating war would be much more than that it is present at now. Yeah.
AVM Saab, not only, we did talk about the schools that are being targeted. Around 8 schools have been targeted. 70% of UNRWA schools have now been bombed. 539 people sheltering inside these premises have been killed. Then there is a shortage of essential medical subsidies, fuel crisis that leads to the hospitals not functioning properly, and therefore this is an indirect crisis as far as the whole medical facilities being given to the Palestinians is concerned. More than 700,000 people could be at risk from a health and environmental crisis that has been confirmed by one of the reports. We see Palestinians dying of hunger, we see Palestinians dying of disease, we see Palestinians dying of bullets and bombs. Is this setting a new precedence of violence in the 21st century, or is this precedent already been made?
No, this is exactly a new paradigm, and they are utilizing all these things as force multiplier to augment their kinetic application over there. For example, you mentioned about fuel starvation. The fuel is required for the generators to operate, operation theaters, for the sewer system to operate, and once there is these all systems are dysfunctional, the hygiene conditions would be so dramatically devastated that there will be widespread contagious disease in that area. So people will die because there is no medication, there is no health care. So without having fired a single bullet on them, they are trying to starve these people and force these people to death through these force multiplier and indirect means. So I think this is a very well thought of process, and I agree with the comment that you earlier made, that they just want to first of all to break the will to resist, then get the areas, maximum areas that they could to increase the new settlements of Jewish communities over there, and eliminate all possible threats so that they have a freedom of action to operate for decades to come.
All right, last question to you, Dr. Amna, and that concerns the rubble that you also alluded to a little bit earlier in the program. The UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees estimates that clearing the Gaza Strip of the rubble caused by Israel's latest war will take 15 years at the least, and it will require the removal of 40 million tons of rubble, citing an assessment by the United Nations Environment Program, and it will cost more than $500 million. What do you foresee once and whenever this war ends? Will the world help the Palestinians, or will they still be siding with the Israelis?
Omar, unfortunately, the point we are waiting, the world is waiting that there would be no Palestinians. Then the world would need not to help anybody, because there would be nobody. And I think that then Israel would generate that money through its donors, and then will clear the rubble and will celebrate their victory.
And will create more Israeli settlements.
Yeah, and then there would be Israel only. There would be no Palestine, and that is the declared goal of Israel.
Okay.
And we all know that. And Israel has, this money is nothing for Israelis, because they are having strong donors for doing that. So what they are waiting, they are waiting to have no Palestinian.
All right.
And
A very doomsday scenario is what you're trying to portray. But Dr. Amna, we're a bit short of time. We'll discuss that inshallah in another program. Thank you very much, AVM, Ijaz, Malik sahab. Thank you very much, Dr. Amna and Mahmood, to have stayed all throughout the show, and we have discussed two important topics that are extremely current. Finally, the two stories, ladies and gentlemen. The government is going to establish a world-class mountaineering school in Gilgitbaltistan. That is what has been said by the coordinator to the Prime Minister on climate change and environmental coordination, Romina Khurshid Alam, on Sunday. She has said the government will establish the school in Skardu in Gilgit-Baltistan to promote sustainable and environmental friendly climbing in the country. She also talks about proper training to promote world-class environment friendly mountaineering and tourism in the country's northern regions. And of course, this is to equip aspiring mountaineers and climbers with the skills and knowledge needed to safely enjoy the mountains. Finally, today's World Brain Day. The theme this year on World Brain Day is brain health and prevention. This of course encapsulates the mission to proactively address risk factors for neurological disease, emphasize the importance of early detection and effective management, and disseminate global education on prevention strategies, because mental health equates to physical health as well. We need to understand the very important correlation between the two. With that, we end today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories and segments that pertain to you, us and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.